So you say that you're going to do everything that you can to reduce the impact that high gas prices have on Americans. We're asking other countries to think about maybe pumping more oil. Why not just do it here?
Well, to be very clear, federal policies are not limiting the supplies of oil and gas. Let me finish. Let me finish.
An executive order his
Peter,
first week that halted new oil and gas.
Let me give you the facts here, and I know that can be inconvenient, but I think they're important in this moment. To the contrary, we have been clear that in the short term, supply must keep up with the demand. We are, and here and around the world, will we make the shift to a secure, clean energy future. We are one of the largest producers with a strong domestic oil and gas industry. We have actually produced more oil. It is at record numbers, and we will continue to produce more oil. There are 9,000 approved drilling permits that are not being used. So the suggestion that we are not allowing companies to drill is inaccurate. The suggestion that that is what is hindering or preventing gas prices to come down is inaccurate.
Would President Biden rescind his executive order that halts new oil and natural gas leases on public lands?
Well, 90% of them happen on private lands, as I'm sure you know, and there are 9,000 unused approved drilling permits. So I would suggest you ask the oil companies why they're not using those if there's a desire to drill more.
Would President Biden ever undo his executive order that stopped the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline?
Are you suggesting that would solve the gas prices issue?
Well, do you think that that would maybe affect prices faster than getting the whole country off of fossil fuels?
I actually don't think it would. The Keystone was not an oil field. It's a pipeline. Yeah. Also, the oil is continuing to flow in just through other means. So it actually would have nothing to do with the current supply imbalance.
So gas prices are approaching an all-time high per gallon. How high would they have to get before President Biden would say, I'm going to set aside my ambitious climate goals and just increase domestic oil production, get the producers to drill more here, and we can address the fossil fuel future later?
Well, again, Peter, the U.S. produced more oil this past year than in President Trump's first year. Next year, according to the Department of Energy, we will produce more oil than ever before. Those are the facts in terms of oil production. And again, right now there are 9,000 unused approved permits to drill onshore. So I think you're misidentifying what the actual issue is. But if we're looking to the future and what we can do to prevent this from being a challenge in future crises, the best thing we can do is reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and foreign oil, because that will help us have a reliable source of energy so that we're not worried about gas prices going up because of the whims of a foreign dictator.
Right, and you guys think that asking Saudi Arabia or Venezuela or Iran is reducing our dependence on foreign oil?
That's actually, I just outlined each of those specific scenarios and the range of discussions that we're having with each of those countries. I don't think anybody is advocating for Iran to continue acquiring a nuclear weapon, perhaps except for the former president who pulled us out of the deal. Go ahead.
And so, like clockwork, here we are, watching as a war unfolds on the other side of the world, while Republicans cash in on it by trying to bash Biden for oil prices that he doesn't control. Because let's not forget, when in doubt, just blame Joe Biden. And look, I don't have to reiterate what Jen Psaki said because she did a perfectly good job schooling Peter Doocy on this issue on her own. But I will say this. I am so beyond tired of Republicans entrenching our reliance on fossil fuels and doing whatever humanly possible to oppose the transition to renewable energy. And then when gas prices inevitably rise 7 cents because of some global issue, the first people looking to exploit those higher prices are Republicans. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of this never-ending cycle where the only goddamn thing we react to in this country is gas prices. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world, the richest, most powerful, most innovative nation on the planet, and yet gas goes up a dime and we descend into countrywide panic. Is this American exceptionalism? We can do anything we put our minds to unless gas prices rise, in which case we're absolutely paralyzed and broken? I'm tired of this cycle. I'm tired of kowtowing to foreign petrostates led by warmongering autocrats. I'm tired of pretending that America has moral authority when we are voluntarily reliant on people like Mohammed bin Salman and Vladimir Putin, one of whom chopped up a journalist with a bone saw, and the other who's currently invading a sovereign country on the other side of the world. I'm tired of relying on profit-grubbing oil companies. Companies like ExxonMobil, which had its highest profits in 7 years, and Chevron, which had its highest profits in 7 years, and Shell, which had its highest profits in 7 years, and BP, which had its highest profits in 8 years, all of which hid behind the pretense of inflation while lining their pockets with boatloads of cash. I'm tired of losing American kids in wars fought over oil. And I'm tired of lawmakers and senators being bought and paid for by oil and gas companies and turning around and offering nothing but lip service to the people who entrusted them with that power. And yes, it's on both sides, but let's not pretend that the vast majority of those people aren't Republicans. You can't look at these numbers and pretend that there's any equivalency between the two parties. And I'm most tired of people pretending that abandoning this destructive, cursed reliance on fossil fuels is just too difficult or not practical. You know what's too difficult? This. Watching our economy yo-yo every time gas jumps. Refusing to sanction Russian oil because the second those oil prices go up, you can bet your last dollar that Republicans will turn around and blame those high gas prices on Joe Biden. And so we refuse to sanction Russian oil and instead continue funding their war against Ukraine. This is the alternative to going all in on a renewable energy revolution. This world we've created where oil companies and tyrants get rich, they pay a few sad, pathetic, crooked politicians to do their bidding and maintain the status quo, and the rest of us get fucked. Is this really, truly better than biting the bullet and transitioning once and for all to renewables? Energy that is cheaper and cleaner and doesn't reward the worst people on the face of the earth? Because call me crazy, but I don't think so. So please, for once, let's stop looking at this in terms of a 24-hour news cycle and be willing to invest in ourselves and our future. Look, we all want the same thing, left, right, and center. We want to pay less for energy and presumably to have a habitable planet for our kids and grandkids. I think those things would pull well across the political spectrum. So instead of being so beholden to gas prices today and tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, and God forbid they're 9 cents higher and then we have to open 12 more refineries to bring the cost back down, let's just rid ourselves of this abhorrent, nightmarish cycle. We can. If our elected officials, especially those on the right, can manage to pry themselves off the teat of big oil, then maybe we can all collectively benefit. That is, if they want to. Because they may very well want gas prices to be nice and high so that they have something to hammer Biden over. And if that's the case, then it's beyond clear that their priority isn't actually solving anything, it's just entrenching their own power for the sake of being in power. If you're being represented by someone like that, I would implore you to reconsider who you're casting your ballot for. In the meantime, just know that this constant refrain, this constant roller coaster where we allow our lives and our geopolitics to be dictated by oil, this is not a necessity, it is a choice, and we have the power to change it. What we're missing is some courage. To see more videos like this, click the subscribe button right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work, subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. I cover the most important stories each week, and my guest is always one of the top political figures, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, Katie Porter, Cory Booker, and so many more. The podcast link is also right here on this screen, so give it a listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.